When my oldest was diagnosed with PANS-PANDAS autoimmune encephalitis, and then we brought home our 2-year-old malnourished and traumatized daughter from an Eastern European orphanage, my hope to care well for my family went from just a desire to a vital necessity. From milling and baking with my own einkorn flour, to learning age-old health habits, to trusting God in the valleys of life, I've learned that nurturing and nourishing the family is a holistic quest. Come along for conversations that encourage you to see all the nourishment we were created for in this life. Let's talk. Hey guys, welcome to the Nourish and Nurture podcast. I am here talking with Aimee from NaturallyAimee on Instagram. And Aimee is a mama from the Northwest. She has a lot of experience in life just learning about ways to naturally support your body and your detoxification systems. Aimee has also recently written a devotional called 21 Days to Draw Closer to God. And today we are going to talk about kind of Aimee's family's journey from cancer diagnosis to learning how to live to glorify God in our health and with each other, and how to walk that out in our daily lives. And so anyways, hi.
Hi, thanks for having me, Krista.
Yeah. So can we start by kind of going back to, let's start by going back to when you got the diagnosis. At this point nowadays, like you are really into just seeking out things to help support your family's health. And was that on your radar during that time? And then just kind of tell us the story.
Yeah, good question. It was, and it was my husband who was diagnosed with cancer. The reason I was already thinking about health is because in college, I had kind of a health crisis come up, and that was difficult to figure out. And kind of going the holistic functional medicine naturopath approach is what, even though I didn't have a diagnosis, I got help. And then with each of my children, I've got 2 kiddos. They're both young teens now. They've each had kind of mystery illnesses virtually from day one. Again, the same process, sought out Western medicine help, got some help for things like asthma. But then when it came to just some of the, different things came up at different stages. And unless we wanted to do big, expensive testing, invasive testing, we weren't going to get answers. And we really did not receive answers. But then when I sought out a naturopath, she was less concerned about a diagnosis and more concerned about teaching me to nourish my family, teaching me to create a home and a space that lent towards health and wellness, and kind of just led us down a path of being at our best, if that makes sense. So when Josh was diagnosed with cancer, it was actually kind of a shock because I was already a good 10 years into learning how to eat well and learning how to manage our stress and our sleep and caring for my children. But I can also see the Lord's hand in that whole process, because every little step was a building block towards being able to overcome cancer. Josh's diagnosis was no small thing. I mean, no cancer diagnosis is. However, for him, it was a shock. He had a little bit of bleeding. We thought he had maybe we didn't really know what. The doctor didn't even recommend a colonoscopy. The doctor said, it's not cancer. His labs looked good. Josh said, can we just do a colonoscopy anyways? Because I'm almost 40. And he said, sure. And so sure enough, came out of that procedure with this other doctor saying, you have cancer. And
So
it's
it's colon
advanced.
cancer?
Colorectal cancer.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So the original tumor was about 10 centimeters, somewhere around 4 inches long. And then he also had tumors in his liver and in some lymph nodes in his abdomen. And it was just so advanced, even though the doctor didn't have test results from the samples back, the biopsy, he knew it was cancer. And sure enough, within a week, we knew not only was it cancer, but it was stage 4. And the oncologist we saw said, there is no cure for what you have. The best I can do is give you some chemo that will hopefully give you a little bit more time with your family, just knowing that we had a young family.
Yeah.
So that was a huge, huge shock for us. Lots of things going on in my mind at the time. In one hand, I'm thinking, someone's telling me I am going to lose my husband. He was a very sweet man, a good doctor for what he is able to treat and prescribe, if that makes sense. But his knowledge of other resources was limited to a very specific scope. And in the other hand, I know that God can do the impossible. And I'm also thinking about all the success I've had with my own health, with our kids' health, when the doctors weren't able to help us.
Yeah. So were you thinking at that time, like this, I didn't expect this, but I mean, it could happen. Were you thinking, I don't understand how this happened? Like, this doesn't make sense at all with our lifestyle. Did you think that it made sense, or was it just off the wall crazy that this was happening to you?
So both. In one hand, I was thinking it was something small because we really were very careful about our lifestyle. Now, I'm the one who really has gone gung-ho into health and wellness. My husband comes from a different background. And so in our marriage, it's been a process of kind of give and take for both of us to blend what works best for each of us, and also respecting each other's approaches with our own bodies. And so while Josh has adopted much of what I do, there's still a number of things that he does differently. Even today, he still does, we use different kinds of toothpaste and we just do some things differently, and that's okay. Everyone needs the freedom to make those decisions for themselves.
Yep.
And he had a little bit different experience. He was concerned. He didn't have a family history per se of cancer, but he was a little bit more concerned. We were not expecting stage 4, but the oncologist went on to explain to us that it's not uncommon for young people when they get cancer for it to not really show up till it's more advanced, because our bodies are better able to kind of hide it or isolate it in a tumor.
Can you give me like a picture? Because I know stage 4 is the final stage, right?
Yep.
But like, how would you compare that with stage 3? What makes it stage 4?
Okay, so it's called metastatic disease, meaning it is the cancer DNA is circulating throughout his body. At any point, it was going to show up in his lungs, which is typically pretty terminal. I think our doctor didn't actually say this, but I think he would have considered Josh terminal. He all but said that to us. And stage 1 is it's isolated in one location. There is cancer developing, and then it eventually spreads to another location, and then it spreads elsewhere from there.
Okay. And so stage 4 is it metastasizes.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So the exact breakdown, I never completely understood the different stages. In fact, they didn't use the words stage 1, 2, 3, or 4. I think that might be a little bit more old school. But that's just kind of how I think, because that's the way I grew up hearing about cancer. So we didn't have time on our hands at all. Had we had more time, we may have done less Western medicine. For example, he did chemo, he did radiation, he had a liver resection.
Okay.
He may have chosen not to do those things, but we needed more time, and Western medicine offered his body more time so that the functional approach of supporting the body through healing could take place, because our bodies don't heal overnight. That really takes time. So just to summarize what I did over those first couple of weeks is I Googled a second opinion just to make sure we really were dealing with cancer and it really was an accurate diagnosis. And we ended up going to Seattle, to the University Hospital. They gave us a slightly more optimistic view. They said they believed he had about a 20% chance of survival. And at that time, that sounded pretty amazing compared to what we had heard the week before. And so we adopted this approach where he would see the oncologist for an appointment. He would prescribe chemo or radiation or whatever. And then I found him a functional doctor as well, who specializes in cancer treatment. And we would go to her afterwards. She would see all those labs. She would see what he was being prescribed, and she would be able to prescribe either supportive care that enhanced the effectiveness of the chemo or the radiation, or supplements that helped minimize some of those symptoms that can be so incredibly harsh. Mm-hmm. And then she also prescribed a few other things that were helping his body heal in the meantime. And she gave us nutrition advice and ways to improve sleep and stress as well, because those are kind of key factors in recovering from cancer.
Yeah. I had a friend who had gone through cancer, and she was talking about the way that it changed her just to worry more about resting afterwards and about the sleep and lowering her stress levels. And I mean, sometimes it takes that to make you think more about those things in life. So I'm curious, when you were going through those beginning stages, how much had it hit him so much that he was having to just rest his brain from thinking too much about things? Mm-hmm. Were you the one that was handling a lot of the research, or was he still really involved in researching things and trying to figure stuff out? Or was he at that point kind of relying on you more to do that? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good question. It was such, you could have hit us, what's the saying, with a bus or something, and it wouldn't have shocked us more. It was probably 3 days before we felt like we weren't in this perpetual gasp stage and we could finally breathe again. Mm-hmm. We notified our immediate family. Even that was so difficult just because I could hardly breathe to say the words of what was going on. And it was really the Lord's timing that we were seeing a counselor, just a wonderful man who loves the Lord and is also a pastor. And we saw him like 2 days later, which was already scheduled. And he was the one that told us, you can fight this unless you hear from the Lord that he wants to take Josh home in this season. You can fight this, you can push back. And that was something Josh and I needed to hear. Just our personalities. We tend to be the type to let go or surrender a little too easy. And so he really lit a fire under us to take on more of a warrior mindset, mm-hmm. and to fight hard. Yeah. And it was pretty quickly that I realized we were going to have a major lifestyle shift in order to keep Josh with us. So Josh was able to keep working, and so he kind of focused on that and resting as much as he was able to. I did most of the research in the coming weeks. I did all the scheduling for him, all the second opinion, finding the functional doctor. I knew a little bit about cancer just because of my history. And so I changed his diet to being more of a keto diet. Mm-hmm. And because we needed to do something. It was weeks before he could start chemo. It was like a whole month, I think, before he could start chemo. And we needed to feel like we were doing something now that was supporting his body when time wasn't on our side.
I want to touch back on what you were saying about talking with your counselor, because you said that, and I was just thinking there's probably somebody who is listening to this and needs to hear that fighting for life is an active thing, that we often feel like we can just walk through life and life comes naturally. But I mean, we're talking a lot about health today, but even that isn't a natural thing. Like, you have to be active in it. And so I think that is something that someone is listening and they need to hear, that yes, you do need to fight for life. You do need to actually take an active stance in it, because it is a battle. We are in a world that goes against life in many ways. And so anyways, I had to add that in, because I was like, yes, that is so true. It can be hard for us to do.
Oh, I'm glad you said that. It's so critical when it comes to mindset, is recognizing, particularly for those of us in industrialized countries, we are exposed to so much that our body's just not designed to be fighting constantly. And so when you say the world does not fight for us, or the world does not support our health. I'm often thinking about my spiritual health, my mindset, my children's mindsets, but also it comes down to our bodies as well. And if, the approach I take today for my health, some of it makes me feel better tomorrow, but a lot of it is for my future. I want to be around for when my children are adults, when I have grandchildren. I want to be able to, I want to be able to serve them. I want to be able to serve my church community. And I won't be able to do that if I am so unwell that everyone else has to serve me.
Right. Yeah. So true. So when you were looking for, you had all these different providers, you were trying to find things to help along with the treatment. What were some of the biggest ways, kind of twofold, what were some of the biggest things that helped along with the chemo, but then what was helping your family at that time?
Gosh, there's a lot I can say about that. Finding an oncologist, first of all, that was comfortable with the fact that we were also seeing a functional doctor was really critical, because some will say, nope, I'm only going to work with you if I am your only doctor. I don't personally think that's right, but I can't speak for all doctors.
For over a decade, I have been creating einkorn flour recipes, and I have done it. I've put together some of our family's favorite comfort food recipes made with nature's original wheat, so you can make them too. Anti-inflammatory, it's missing the D chromosomes, which are responsible for the wheat intolerance in many people. One comparison of einkorn has shown 213% more lutein, 55% more riboflavin, and 76% more manganese. If I could say that, when really I could just go on and on. It has so much nutrition. The fact is, this nutritional powerhouse also tastes great. We enjoy things like biscuits, sourdough cinnamon rolls, but honestly, my kids also want to chime in.
There's not a lot of einkorn recipes out there, so she made her own cookbook. And speaking of favorite, here's some of ours.
Pumpkin streusel stones. Christmas-style chocolate chip Twitties.
We would love to have you share some of our favorite cozy recipes too, so grab your copy of Einkorn Recipes for a Cozy Winter by going to hilltopinthevalley.com and clicking on the cookbook link. And let us know if you enjoy the recipes as much as we do.
I'm trying to think of what direction to take your question, because I can take it a lot of directions. Having a support community was really critical as well. We needed help because this was a major lifestyle shift for us. I actually break down a lot of these kind of points in a PDF that I made, a cancer care PDF. And I don't know if you want to share that at the end. It's linked in my, it's in my Instagram account. Okay.
Yeah.
In the profile, and people can download that for free. There's lots of research. There is nonprofit groups that are helpful, and I'll probably touch back on a couple of those. Mm-hmm. Some simple lifestyle tips like drinking green tea, which is very anti-cancer.
Yeah.
Josh drinks green tea every day now.
Okay. Yeah.
And those were recommended to us by his functional doctor.
Okay.
So yeah, the support system was really critical. When Josh, his chemo cycles, for example, he'd be on chemo for 52 hours every 2 weeks. And so he'd be very sick for a couple of days, and then he would slowly improve, and then he would be almost back to his normal self for the last part of the second week.
And was he working during that time, or was he off of work?
How did that work out? He worked from home. Fortunately for him, his work wanted him to maintain health insurance.
Okay.
So they had him work from home. And so it was a huge blessing to us. He would take a break for about a day and a half while he was on chemo, because he'd start chemo on Fridays and then have chemo all weekend. And then he'd need a few more hours on Monday to recover. And then he would start work again, and he could maintain his 40 hours to keep his health insurance. And that was kind of incredible that even worked out. But there were other forms of supportive care. When he was on chemo, he also did mistletoe therapy.
Oh, what's that?
So it's really popular in Europe right now, and it's administered through injection at home. And like in Germany, it's very popular for cancer treatment. And the mistletoe, it's like mistletoe you see outside in the tree, growing in your trees. and they make it into a serum. You inject it and it finds the cancer cells. It kind of creates a little bit of an irritation to the body. So it kind of wakes your body up to the cancer and it stimulates your immune system to react. So you start at a very low dose.
That was done through his functional doctor?
That's where the prescription came from.
Okay.
And we administered it at home every couple of days. So his functional doctor, she actually didn't recommend it at first. I found out about it through one of the websites that I recommend on the PDF. It's called believebig.org. And they actually have doctors that they recommend on their website that can prescribe mistletoe.
Okay.
So if people are interested in that treatment specifically, and they also have grants available for first doctor appointments. It was very easy for us to get approved for that grant. So if anyone's interested, they can look it up.
Yeah. So, and I imagine during that time, you're also, I mean, it's the financial strain is huge during that time. And then you have 2 kids. And so you're trying to figure out how to take care of the kids and to keep things low stress at home during all this. And you were probably, I'm guessing you were getting meals. Were you getting meals during this time? When you say you had the community help, was that meals? What best would you say helps during that time?
We were actually kind of in this perfect storm situation when Josh was diagnosed. But I tend to think it was just the Lord's grace over us. Just not necessarily looking the way we tend to think of grace. We had just moved to a brand new community. We knew nobody. We had started homeschooling for the first time. We had only been here 8 weeks, I think, when he was diagnosed. And it was COVID season. So, everything's shut down. Everyone's wearing a mask. So it was hard to get to know people at church. Fortunately for us, we have a pretty supportive family. They're not in our immediate area, but one side of the family would come help cook or clean when he had chemo 1 week, and then they'd go home and the other side would come help. Like our moms kind of took turns. I took a pretty long break with school for the kids. And I also feel like it was the Lord's timing because we were all home together. We didn't know what our future was going to look like with Josh. Talking about stress, we felt like there was 2 different directions our lives could really go, one with him and one without him. And we had not a clue what direction things were going to go. So are we saying goodbye right now? Or are we building towards something greater? Are we bonding more for the future? It was just unbelievably complicated mentally. And it was just a constant surrender to the Lord. To share really quick, that first week when Josh and I were just so overwhelmed mentally, did not know what to do. The only thing I could think about in the Word, I'd open my Bible, but I wouldn't read because I couldn't. And I just knew this is where I needed to be. And what kept coming to my mind was the examples where God's people would cry out to him in the Word. And the Bible says, and God heard them, and God answered them. And so I told Josh, I think we need to cry out. That's all we can do right now. We don't have any answers. We don't have any direction. And so we did. There was a couple evenings where we turned on worship music and we got down on the floor in our living room and we invited our children to participate in ways that they were comfortable with. And we cried and we prayed and we worshiped. And we did that a couple of nights until one particular morning we woke up, and I just remember getting started with my day. And I don't know, 20 minutes into my morning, I realized, oh my gosh, there is a peace here, because I'm not feeling like I'm fighting this nightmare that I can't escape from anymore. I'm feeling like we can fight now. Yeah. We can make a plan and we can move forward. And so the Lord's presence had really settled over us. Our children had really calmed down as well. And we could just kind of function, basically. And that's how we began to move forward. And quite honestly, I just don't know how we could have had we not had that experience.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely in surrender, it's almost like a breaking point that you can't even identify the exact spot, but you just I hear people talk about that, and peace comes about.
Yeah. And if you don't mind me saying really quick, to that point, I've definitely come to recognize that there is a certain amount of tenderness and richness about the Lord's love for us that we don't tap into until we're just falling apart, and yet we surrender. And I've come to a point now where I almost look for that, but that tenderness is truly what gets me through the day to the next step so that I can continue functioning, continue doing my job as a wife and mom. Yes. And definitely grateful for those moments.
Yeah. I feel like we could make a whole episode just talking about, the going through the questions of why these bad things happen, and is this punishment, and not having peace about it, and how that peace comes about. That is just such a big thing. But I do want to keep going. But what would you, if there was anything that you would change about that time? That is something you definitely would not change. It sounds like that is probably the life-changing thing that came about from it. What, if you could change something, would it be?
Yeah, the one thing I would change is I changed Josh's diet pretty drastically at that time. I eliminated all sugar other than some fruit, and all processed food, all flours, because I just didn't know what else to do. And we needed something to do. And it ended up being a little too hard on his body, and he ended up losing a little bit of weight initially. And if you know anything about the cancer battle, weight is critical to survival. You want to hang on to as much weight as possible. So if I were to recommend something to someone else, I would say maybe cut back some, but don't change your diet so drastically that it's going to stress your body further. And eventually we did chill a little bit on that once we saw the functional doctor.
And did she give you encouragement in that way?
She did. We actually got nutrition counseling. A lot of it I knew, but there was much about the cancer element that I didn't. Things like eating as much blue and purple fruit as possible. So I started making Josh blueberry and blackberry smoothies and shakes. And really, instead of the focus on eliminating things like I kind of had been doing initially, it was more bringing in more nutrition.
So it was a focus on this is what you want to be looking at. Yes. That helps a lot, I think. Yeah. So he does not have cancer now, correct?
Correct. He is cancer-free.
And how long has it been since that came about?
So he was diagnosed November 6th, 2020.
Okay.
He ended treatment by that end of June. And so what is that, like 7 months? And then it was August that we found out that the tumors were gone or dead. And then it was the following November, exactly a year, that we found out that the cancer DNA was no longer circulating in his blood.
Wow. So that is miraculous when you think about going from stage 4 to that in 1 year.
It's incredibly miraculous. And even the doctors, no one was saying the word miracle, but we had multiple doctors pull us aside to point out how unusual his outcome was. The surgeon who removed a portion of his liver said that the tumors were completely dead. There was no active cancer in them. And he said in his experience, that was like a less than 5% chance of something like that happening.
Yeah. Wow. That is amazing.
The oncologist in Seattle, she waited a couple years to tell us this, because technically, even today, Josh is still considered a cancer patient. Because it was so advanced, the odds of reoccurrence are incredibly, incredibly high. So she explained to us that for him to get to 1 year of no reoccurrence, so, meaning after 2 years from date of diagnosis, the chance of reoccurrence was like 98.5%.
Wow.
And keep in mind, they're not taking into account functional care or holistic care. That's entirely Western medicine approach. If you look up some of these modalities of care, such as the mistletoe, there's a high chance of recovery for people.
Yeah.
So,
wow. Still though, that is pretty amazing. So where are you now? You are in a completely different time. This has been a good 4.5 years, something like that. So what type of season are you in now?
So the moving away from cancer was a very slow process for us mentally. because the message we were continuing to receive was that his chance of reoccurrence was crazy high. We were still making trips to Seattle every 3 months for, I think it was 3 years. So and mentally, emotionally, I think less than a year now, we feel like we're taking a breath, but we still see ourselves as pursuing health differently now. And we picked one area to focus on once he was well, once he felt well, and that was exercise. We knew he needed exercise 3 times a week. We said, let's do this for a year. We'll just focus on the exercise, make sure we're doing it really well. And so we did that. And then we figured out what works for us as a family. And then we moved into kind of refining nutrition a little bit. We did that for a while. And we have a little mobile home sauna that we got for him because one of the lymph nodes that was cancerous is inoperable. So if it didn't heal on its own, he wouldn't be able to survive. And I felt like using a sauna is a really effective way to help your lymph nodes stay healthy and strong. And so that was also a season. And so that's kind of been our lifestyle, is taking new baby steps towards a stronger lifestyle that resists cancer. And we kind of apply this to all of us as much as possible. We make sure the kids are getting exercise too. They eat the same meals we eat. When Josh's diet changed, we ate the same meals together. And there was no like one of us eats differently while everyone else eats different. I am a big believer that doing things together as a family is a really incredible way to bond and to heal. And it's just very unifying. And if I was eating a separate meal or Josh was eating a separate meal, it's a little bit isolating. That can be difficult to accomplish in a family, especially when one parent doesn't see the value in the approach. And I totally get that. We've been there ourselves, but I think it's possible to find things that you can do as a family together.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think there's definitely always times when that doesn't completely work, but there's also things that you can do to try and draw people together, even when not maybe every meal is going to be exactly the same, but you can definitely, that is a great idea. So how did you notice, was there specific things you noticed that helped in your family? Do you feel like it helped the kids at all?
Yes, it definitely helped the kids. So once Josh was past surgery, he was supposed to start exercising again, even though he still had radiation ahead of him. And so we started doing evening walks when the weather was good. And we just talked about, okay, it's family walk time. This is how we support dad's health. This is how we all get healthier and stronger. And so it kind of gave our kids a little bit of ownership in this process of supporting dad. And I really felt like that gave them a bit more freedom and kind of eased their worries a bit because they had a place to put effort in loving and supporting dad. So yeah.
It also reminds me of, the studies that they've done on doing chores for kids and how you learn to do that. And it becomes a sense of pride that you have a part in this family. And there are people I've heard discussing the whole chore aspect and saying that in their opinion, this is just an opinion, but they think that has really had a play in kids having more depression and feeling more worthless in some ways in today's time, because that takes away, not having that takes away from their pride and their ability to have a place. And so I can see how when you do chores, you say, no, we're a part of a family. We do this because we have something to give. And when you're saying, no, we're a part of a family, we're going to do this. Whoops. We're going to do, X, Y, Z together. We're going to eat this together. That gives us yet just another thing that we can give to the family and have a place in the family. So
I think that's an excellent point. And I would say, so my kids were about 9 and 11 when Josh was diagnosed. And while I wouldn't say it was easy process at all, there was definitely, why do I need to do this sometimes, or why do I need to eat this, or this isn't what we usually eat, or there was definitely pushback. And I would say, we are in a season of growing healthier and stronger together. I didn't want cancer to become a scary word in our home. So while Josh and I privately talked about it and said the word cancer, I often talked about healing and, let's see, growing stronger and health. Those are the words I largely used as a family. And I believe strongly that my children do appreciate our lifestyle more now that they're older. And I do think they are seeing the value, even though they still, my son loves to walk to Taco Bell and they're going to choose their own paths in time, and they're beginning to do some of that. But I really think I see in them sort of a searching for that better quality lifestyle, that healthier, stronger living, and wanting to take care of their bodies as well because of everything that we have walked through together.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So what are you learning right now? What during this season, what are you learning more about? What's been drawing you in that journey?
Yeah, good question. So this season, so for me approaching my mid-40s, has definitely kind of knocked me back more than I was expecting. And I think that's relatively common for women these days. And so even though I've been in this world of living to care for my body better, for the sake of my future, for the sake of my family, I've been asking a lot of questions lately. What is going on with my body? But also the Lord's teaching me a lot of patience. And he's teaching me to just walk one day at a time with him. And he's teaching me to ask a lot more questions about the details of my life. I really think the Lord cares about the details of my life because he is an intimate God. And learning to follow his leading in how I care for my body, I see it as a form of worship. I'm also learning to love my body where it is. Mm-hmm. It's not perfect, but it's a blessing and a gift. And when I value something, I take good care of it.
Yeah.
And so I'm just constantly learning to see my body more and more as the blessing and the gift that it is.
Yeah, that makes sense. Recently I have had a thing going with my own house because there's been a lot of things like I've wanted to declutter or, different things that I would like to accomplish with it. Mm-hmm. And one day I just heard out of nowhere, it was like, God was just like, you know what? You need to learn how to be thankful for where it is at right now in order to be able to care for it well.
Wow.
And I think that just goes so beautifully well with our bodies as well. I mean, it can be applied to so many things in life that we really just need to be okay with what we have at the moment. And yeah. So you recently put out a devotional, the 21 days to draw closer to God. It's a prayer companion with prompts to inspire and grow your prayer life. Was this something that you thought you would do a long time ago, or is this more of a recent thing?
Yes.
And how did that come about?
Yep. Well, prayer is very important to me. I think I will be growing deeper in my prayer life to the end of my days. I really crave a full and fruitful prayer life. And, once you have kids, you really see the need to pray. And so I always have my things in my family, my children, my friends that I am praying for. But I've really wanted to grow in the habit of prayer, of some of the things that I believe as believers, as Christians, that we are called to pray for in God's word. And so I wrote it for me. I really wrote it for myself at first. I love having projects to do. I love having creative outlets. And as it came together, I thought, I wonder if there's anyone else who might appreciate this, because it's a little different than the other prayer journals that I've had in the past. So then I wanted to make it available for other people. And instead of following a theme or different kinds of themes, it follows 5 areas of prayer each day, because I wanted to get into that mindset of kind of flowing through these different topics every single day, whether I've got the prayer journal in my hand or not.
Mm-hmm.
So
like a discipline.
Yes, absolutely. I love that word, a discipline of prayer. I'm always going to remember the things I need to pray about, like my kids and my husband and my life and my friends. But these different areas are not always at the forefront of my thoughts. And I wanted to, just as you're saying, kind of build that discipline. So I have a corresponding Bible verse for every area, and there's a prayer prompt for every single area, and then an area for journaling as well, if someone wants to write down their own prayer. But the 5 areas are praise and thanksgiving, repentance, intercession, advancing the kingdom, and drawing closer to Christ. And then later on, I add in the armor of God. I think that these are areas that every single mom can use a covering over herself and her family, her home, her community every single day. And when I am praying from a place of praise and thanksgiving, and then I am building that habit of repentance, I believe that my heart, my spirit is aligned with the Lord to then go into intercession, advancing the kingdom, and drawing closer to Christ.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm a big prayer as I drive person because it's good time to pray. And so I'm kind of working on memorizing these areas. And then there's a place for personal prayer requests. And in the back, I included some questions for myself that I can ask myself after I've gone through the whole book and kind of reflect on what areas am I growing? What is the Lord continuing to draw to my mind? What is he teaching me that's new in this season through this time of prayer? And there's a lot more to it, but that's kind of the summary. So like I said, a full and fruitful prayer life is kind of my goal here. And I want to be able to teach it to my children well. I want to set that example for them well.
So do you use this? Are you someone who gets up with your coffee and does this in the morning? Is this something you do before bed? How does that work into your life?
I wish I was good at having a really solid routine. I love to sleep in, which isn't super conducive to being a homeschool mom. And so I kind of hit the ground running every morning. And this has been a really effective way to also draw my kids in. So I don't get to it every single day. Sometimes I'm literally standing at the table while they're eating and I'm like pulling it open for a minute. And I might not even get things written down every single day. Or I might sit down and I might go through it with my kids. And we might read the Bible verse together and then say the prayer, or each of us have our own prayer on repentance or intercession or whatever the prompt is. Because it's about things like, I include things like first responders, our family, different areas that kids often love to pray for as well.
Yeah. I like that you mentioned the driving, because I think when people talk about devotionals, one of the biggest questions is, well, it's almost a guilt thing too, because there's a lot of women who are in very busy seasons, very busy times of their life, or they are not getting sleep in this season. And they just feel like I cannot be the person to get up every day and take out my devotional and sit for half an hour and stare at that thing. And so instead of doing a little bit, we just do nothing, because we can't imagine. And so I think that's a great idea to put it out there as, you know what, sometimes there are seasons when we are not alone all the time. And yes, it's okay to share our life with God, with other people too. So that's very encouraging for me to hear. But we are generally in our own head, not all the time in the car, but a lot more in the car. And it is kind of a forced moment of stillness, whether we realize it or not. And so that's a great way to enter into that prayer time. So thanks for saying that, because
well, that's why I chose the car, because I'm not strong in schedules and routine. I never have been. It's simply not going to happen for me. I've spent plenty of years trying. It is not going to happen for me. But I spent a lot of time saying, Lord, what can I do? I know you've called me to prayer, and instead of being hard on myself all the time, what can I commit to here? And so that's when I feel like the Lord showed me that time in the car. Began with my kids in preschool and that little zip around the corner to the little church, and the 2-minute drive, sometimes was chaotic and kind of a screamed prayer a little bit. And, but my kids built this new understanding over time that this is our time to pray. And they started saying, Mom, don't forget to pray. And that really inspired me to take it more seriously with them. So we started also talking about things like gratitude and forgiveness, and who else can we pray for together? And who do you know that needs prayer today? And my kids really began building a confidence in their own prayer life through those 2-minute drives around the corner, literally 3 days a week.
Yeah.
I don't know, 10 years ago.
Wow. Very cool. Wow. Yeah, I ordered the devotional, but it's not here yet, and I don't have Prime, and so it does not come right away for me, but it'll be here in a couple days. So I look forward to seeing it.
Yeah.
I wanted to end this with some encouragement for people who are starting to search, or maybe they have been searching and they just want some more ideas, some more options. What are some of your favorite places to find helps from other people, whether it be social media? Is there a website? I know you have that PDF, and it sounds like for the cancer related stuff, that is a really great resource, but I love to give resources to people. So what for you has been very helpful?
So for people who are just getting started, feeling like I want to make changes in my home, I want to make changes to my family's lifestyle, or maybe someone has a child with medical challenges and you're not really getting the answers or solutions that you're looking for. One of my favorite places, it's a website called A Little Less Toxic. She's also on Instagram and Facebook, A Little Less Toxic. Her name is Shauna. She actually has a couple of books that are wonderful. She is an absolute delight and a lot of fun to watch, but it's really starting at the basics. What can I do in my home? What are some recipes that are nourishing to my family's bodies as I learn some of those more details, and what are quick and easy swaps? She recommends, some homemade cleaning solutions that really are effective. And so just simple things like getting rid of traditional cleaners that can just be very, very harsh on our immune system.
Okay. Yeah.
And there's a lot. She's got a wonderful book. They're both available, 2 books available on Amazon. So that's a great place to start. If you're needing something more medical support. So Healing Cave Lady, she has a website, and she is also on Instagram. Her name's Mary.
Okay.
There's a lot of doctors on Instagram that I love. One that's cancer related, her name is Dr. Nasha Winters, Nasha. And she has a website, and she's also on Instagram. If someone had cancer, wanted to hear what I'm saying, but from a doctor's mouth, she's the one.
Okay.
She's the one to go look up. On Facebook, one account I recommend for anyone who has a child with medical challenges. Oh shoot, I just lost it. It is called Recovery Kids Biomedical Healing.
Okay.
A wonderful, wonderful group. They have a lot of research that they share. So you can go in and read up on research. You can ask questions. It's been on there for a lot of years. So you can kind of do a Google search on whatever's going on with your kiddo and learn a lot. They've been very helpful to me over the years.
Cool. And is that one, did you say that's a website?
That's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook. Okay. I've seen that before, but I couldn't remember if it was Instagram or what. Okay.
And the great thing about that too is that people share both functional and Western medical treatment options on there. So it's a good blend of both.
So it's basically one of those research-based.
Yes, 100%.
Okay. Very cool. Well, thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And
you're welcome.
I will go ahead and put the PDF down with this video, this will be a video also with this podcast, and then people can find the PDF. And you are on Instagram, but you are not active right now, but there is a ton of stuff that you've put on there from previous years that is still so helpful. I still look at it at times because you have great things on detoxing. You have different detoxes you were going through. You have stuff on sauna. You have a couple interviews that you did with people. So go ahead and check that out too. And thank you, Aimee, so much for.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Krista.
Well, that's it for today. Thank you for listening. And can I just say, if you are wanting to learn more, you can go to www.hilltopinthevalley.com, or you can check out the YouTube channel, Hilltop in the Valley. Also, could you do me a favor? And if you got something out of this podcast, would you share it with a friend? Our podcast is a very new podcast. Also, would you go on whatever app or whatever platform you are listening on, and would you leave a good review? Those 5-star reviews are one of the biggest ways that podcasts grow and are able to get more audience around them. Anyways, thank you for listening. Appreciate you in this conversation today, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye. Hey there, I just have to let you know, I am not a doctor and nothing here is meant to be a diagnosis or a prescription. This is meant for entertainment purposes alone. So please talk to your own provider to help with any medical and or nutritional needs that you may have.